All right, welcome back to the channel to Essential Oil Stories. And today we are going to talk with author Celeste Solum Bishop about the problem of electromagnetic radiation that we are all being afflicted with from what is going on in space. And Celeste's book about solutions we can use to protect ourselves from them. So, Celeste, what is your background in regards to writing your book entitled Electromagnetic Radiation Protection Solutions? Tell us a little bit about yourself and your career experience.
Okay, so basically, when I was a child, wanted to be an astronaut, and I did know astronauts. As a matter of fact, Wally Schirra taught me how to use chopsticks. So it was just in my blood, but I didn't quite, in those days, women did not have the opportunities that they do now. So that was a little unrealistic for the day and era that I lived in. But then I went into medicine. I went into pediatrics and environmental medicine. And then I went to work for FEMA and Department of Homeland Security. So that's a little bit. And I've been an avid star watcher and um, outdoor enthusiast. But it was pretty much the good Lord that said on July 1st, I want you to write this book and I want you to write it like in a month. And so my fingers flew. And so fortunately, I did have a background. And so I was able to put the book together in a fairly short order.
And Celeste, that was just in 2019, correct?
That was last year, last
Yeah.
summer. Hmm.
Wow. Okay, so our medical disclaimer, we just want everybody to know that we are not giving medical advice and you should talk to your doctor about what is right for you. So this is for entertainment purposes, and
Absolutely.
we're just very intrigued by that. So, all right, so Celeste, who would this book be for? Who's the audience for this book?
So this book is for anybody that is concerned about their health. And right now we have begun entering the sixth extinction level event on planet Earth. There have been five others, and basically some species went extinct, and other species thrived and came into being during those particular times. Most cultures and religions believe that this is the last cycle, and there are several
Can I
reasons.
interrupt you for a moment?
Mhm.
I think either my internet did something funny or maybe it was yours, but I think I need you to repeat that part. Um, I heard you say this is the sixth extinction level event. And could you start there again?
Sure. So this is the sixth um, extinction level event. We've had five others, and those are very well documented through ice cores and tree rings and this type of thing, archaeological, geologic evidence. And now we're in this fifth one. And there are several reasons that this is happening right now. And one of them is the Earth has this protective barrier around it called our magnetosphere. And since 1800, that's been collapsing, but we're about 25 to 30% down on that, our protection from outer space. We are expecting a what is called a jerk, and then it's going to just plummet really fast. And this allows several things. And one of the things that maybe your listeners are familiar with is there's been a lot of asteroids and fireballs that have been entering the atmosphere. Some of them are not predicted, many are predicted. And part of this is because our buffer, our protective thing that our deflector field, if you know, if you're a Star Trek fan, is not working 100%. and it's only going to get worse throughout our lifetime. It's not going to get any better. And it also allows cosmic rays, all different kinds of cosmic rays. People go, well, maybe if I build my house underground or go to live in a cavern like they did back, like the ancient Indians and the Peruvians did, and that's how they survived these previous um, extinction level events. This time it's a little bit different. Some of these cosmic rays that are coming in, there's different types of radiation they bring. And one of the types of radiation is called a strangelet. And a strangelet comes from outer space and it penetrates the Earth crust and it goes to the core of the planet in mere minutes. So, really, there is no defense like going underground. So, but there are exciting things that you can do in food and supplements that will not only protect you, give you layers of protection, and we can talk about those layers, but it also is effective against nuclear radiation and also 5G. So the same solutions that you would use for cosmic rays could also help protect you against a nuclear event. God forbid that anything like that would happen. And 5G, which I know many of us are concerned about.
Okay, wow. So that's a pretty big audience that could be interested in reading your book. Now, so as some vocabulary words come up today, like cosmic rays or the sun going silent, maybe you can try to explain kind of a little bit what those words mean, um, for those of us that those words just do not come up in our daily conversation, with our girlfriends or our spouses or um, even our kids' teachers sometimes. Um, so you have a chapter or a section in your book called Invisible Bombardment, and I think you kind of started touching on that. But like, I don't feel like I feel cosmic rays. Maybe you can talk about what cosmic rays are, and I don't really feel like I feel that. Like, you know what I'm saying? So what do you say to the person that did not feel like there was any threat of radiation before this discussion with you? And then part two of that question, when did this start becoming a threat?
So, especially like this past year, well, last year and this year, there have been, because this magnetosphere is collapsing now at a pretty good clip, the cosmic rays started bombarding our atmosphere. Most people see them as auroras. Like if you live up in the like Finland and Sweden, and I'm sure everybody's seen a picture of an aurora borealis. Well, that is an indication that there is a lot of um, cosmic ray activity. There was actually a large cosmic ray activity during the Civil War. And there are stories that during I think it was towards the end of the Civil War, that there was a big American flag rippling in the sky. And that was actually a cosmic ray event. But unfortunately, cosmic rays are not really rays. They're little particles of radiation. There can be like alpha and gamma and just different types, and they are invisible. So mm, we can't see them, we can't touch them, we can't taste them, but they're there anyway. And they can do many things to our body. Um, I don't know if we
Yeah,
want to
we're gonna
jump.
we're gonna talk about that in a
Yeah,
minute.
so
Yeah.
it's really important that we pay attention to what the space weather is doing these days, because this is in our generation now. You need to pay attention to space weather just like you would your regular weather report. It is every bit as critical, like you would want to know if a hurricane or tornado was coming towards you. You need to know what the space weather is so that you can make wise decisions and decide how you're going to protect yourself.
Okay, well maybe this is a good time to kind of look at that a little bit. So who else knows about these space activities that are affecting us?
Well, of course, scientists, cosmologists, astronomers. There's a lot of people talking about the grand solar minimum and the upcoming food shortages, and that the planet Earth is kind of cooling down. It's called Snowball Earth. So these are some of the people that are talking about it. I go to two different scientific committees meetings every Saturday. So tomorrow I'll find out what the latest scoop is on the different space things that are either on the horizon or happening right now.
Okay. Well, you had told me ahead of time about some websites that you look at. So I'm going to share my screen with the audience really quick here, and we're going to look at some of those. And so let's look at the what is this website? swpc dot noaa dot gov, and then it's /communities and /space weather enthusiasts. And then we're going to go from here. We're going to click on, need to adjust something on my screen. We're going to click on dashboards up at this top menu.
This is the dashboard right here that you're seeing. If you just scroll down, it says
Oh, it
space.
is the dashboard.
It is
Oh,
the
okay.
dashboard.
Okay, so I'll just let you kind of talk about this a little bit.
So over on the right-hand side, this is your 3-day forecast, just like you would have with your, if a storm was coming in or it was going to be a sunny day or a hot day, 3-day forecast. They don't really do 10-day forecasts in space weather. But as you can see, March 20th, there was a little bit of turbulence, which is indicated by the number three, but then it goes down to 0, 1, and 2. And that's pretty low. And then if you look at the 21st, it's about the same. You get a little bit of turbulence. The sun, we have not had sunspots very many sunspots last year, but the sun is starting to wake up, and that poses its own unique challenges. So either a very quiet condition can cause serious health problems, or a very active. This is really relatively minor and it's very quiet. If it's quiet for like 12 to 24 hours, you have to look at various health problems that can stem from that we'll talk about.
Okay. And then should we look at the spaceweather.com website really quick?
Sure, yes.
Okay. Yeah, I saw over here on the left side it says the planetary K index, and it says right now KP equals 1, and they're calling that quiet. And
And
then
that's what if you see that, you need to be concerned and make sure that you are taking either foods or supplements to create a barrier against cosmic rays. So when you see quiet, and we'll get down to it in just a second, you know that there's a lot of cosmic rays in the atmosphere, even though you can't see them.
okay, so I don't necessarily need to be a space expert. If I at least know how to look at this and interpret that a little bit, that
Right.
can kind of help guide me about what I'm doing now and what for my family and what I might be doing in the next couple of days and what to
Yes.
expect.
Yes.
Okay, Great, that's helpful. I think I will stop sharing the
No,
screen
no, wait,
now.
wait, wait, wait.
Oh, oh,
Let's,
oh, okay.
can you scroll down?
Mm-hmm. More?
Okay, keep going, keep going, keep going. Now, up, up. You went too a little bit too far. Up a little bit. It's hard when I'm not doing it. I'm used to doing it. So over on
Right.
the left-hand side, you're seeing
Mm-hmm.
the storms. Now, since the sun is starting to wake up, you have to pay attention to the storms. And one of the big reasons is those in the know that follow space weather say that within the next couple years, we're going to get a big solar flare from the sun, and it will take down the power grid to a third of the Earth. And the drain on that will actually cause two-thirds of the Earth to be without power. And we have no idea where that solar flare will hit. But so you want to pay attention to this. But if you go up a little bit more, you should see the cosmic ray octalucent. Hmm. Did they take it down? That is really weird. Oh, wait, wait. Yeah. Hold on just a sec. Let me check on mine, if you
No
don't mind.
problem. No, we'll just be on here working it through together. I think this
So,
is really important because it is a little bit overwhelming when you've never really thought about following space weather before. Um, you know, I can imagine it's quite a complex subject. So if we can at least,
okay,
you
so
know, I
if
can learn where to start.
if you go up to the top where the sun is, oh, there it is. Oh, wait,
Okay.
stop, stop. Okay, now we slowly, now your solar wind is going to tell
Okay.
you, just like the wind that we have and experience. Sometimes we have windstorms. There's a solar wind. And so the speed right now is pretty fairly quiet. So it's not a big deal. But you need to know what is quiet. So 3 and 400 is quiet.
Okay. Let's
That's not going to
3 and 4.
affect you so much. It's like a quiet, breezy day, but it's not
Okay.
anything to be alarmed about.
Mm-hmm.
And then, of course, there's no solar flares right now. And if you just scroll down a little bit, there's a couple other sections we really need to pay attention to. Um, we don't have, as you can see, we don't have any sunspots, but they are starting. The umbrals are starting, but they have not done anything like shoot anything out. There is a little bit of plasma that occasionally hits the Earth, but they are not at the dangerous point yet. But that can change very quickly, and that's why you need to look at your 3-day space weather. Now, if you go down a little bit further, and you'll see that thermosphere climate, we see
Mm-hmm.
that the thermosphere climate is cold, and that affects the weather and what type of weather you're going to have. Like, is it going to be rainy? Is it going to be cold? Is it how is it going to affect all the different weather cells and weather fronts that are um,
On
impacting us,
Earth.
and right, and bringing us precipitation, whether it's rain or hail or snow. And then if we go right down below that, you'll see cosmic rays.
Okay.
And as you can see, the neutron count is very high. And so that means we're getting inundated with cosmic rays, and it has actually gone up 0.1% in the last 7 days.
Okay. And just for the record, I want everybody to know that we are currently recording this interview conversation on Friday, March 20th. So to give everyone a reference. And I will be uploading this to my channel, Essential Oil Stories, as rapidly as my technology and internet will possibly allow for that. So, yeah, just wanted to give everybody some context because we're looking at real-time information, you and I, and then we'll be uploading that a little bit later.
And so it does, if you want to know when was the absolute highest of cosmic rays, that occurred in December of 2009 with a maximum of 11.7. So we're pretty close to that, really. And then there was a low, the low cosmic rays in June of 1991.
Okay, so low cosmic rays is good.
Yes, low cosmic rays is good.
Very high cosmic rays, which is today, Friday the 20th, is not good. And
Right.
that's why we're talking, because not everybody, has this awareness. And we want to talk about how to help ourselves during those situations because we cannot control space weather. Okay, so are we done looking at this for now, do you think?
We are done.
Okay, so we're going to just go back to our faces now and have a chat. Um, so I was going to ask you, does staying in our house help with these events? But it sounds like no. Being in our house
No.
does not protect us. It protects us from Earth weather, but not space weather. Okay. So for the moment, before we start talking about health effects, let's share some ways with the audience and the listeners how they can follow your work, get your books, follow your blog, your Patreon, your YouTube, etc. Let's share with them that information and then we'll get on with our conversation.
Okay, so I do have a Patreon community, and it is a community. And so that is at Shepherd's Heart dot, yeah, Shepherd's Heart Farm, Shepherd's Heart Farm. So if you go to the Patreon site and type in Shepherd's Heart Farm, you want to make sure you get the Shepherd's Heart Farm because when I started Patreon, I had a dummy account because I wasn't sure I was going to do it. So a lot of people get confused and they go to the wrong one. So if you get to Shepherd's Heart Farm, you've got the right one. And it's pretty lively. I do all sorts of updates and lots of information, everything from canning to how to protect yourself from space weather. And then I do have a blog, and it's shepherdsheart.life. And so you would go to the blog, and I do articles and different things like that. And then you could follow my YouTube, my video broadcasts, either through the Patreon or at Diamond Disc on YouTube, and then just look at my name, Celeste. There's only one of me under Diamond Disc, and that's how your listeners can follow me.
Well, great. So we're going to make sure that we list those descriptions and those links in the video description below and also in the comment section of this video. So, and really quick to the listeners, if you have folks that you wish to share this information with, you can click the arrow right below the video, and that will help you to share the video either through text message or Facebook Messenger or by email, or you can just even copy the link and then you can have that copied to your clipboard. And also, if you would give a like to this video, it will help my channel. And also if you subscribed to the channel, then you will be notified of my next video uploads as well, so you don't miss out on any important health tips. All right, so we're going to get back into our conversation here. And but before we do, I'm also going to post links of how you can get Celeste's book. It's in, let's see, Electromagnetic Radiation Protection Solutions is via PDF download purchase, correct?
You can actually, a lot of things have changed. It is now available in Kindle, PDF, download, and also a paperback, both at shepherdsheart.life and on Amazon. But you'll get a better price on at shepherdsheart.life.
Excellent. Okay, and you do have some other books available as well, and we can post links for that as well. Okay. All right. So now cosmic ray exposure health effects, page 17. So there's immediate effects, there's early effects, late effects, and I have heard you say on your videos that heart attacks and strokes are more common during high cosmic ray times. So um, I just want to give you some freedom to discuss with the audience what some health effects are, anything that we can maybe watch for or listen to our bodies for. Let us know what you think.
So I'm going to address those of you that have chronic health problems. So that might be heart disease, it might be infection, it might be diabetes, it might be hormonal, it might be something mentally, like you suffer from anxiety or something like that. So anybody with a chronic health problem, it is going to make that problem worse, or it has the potential to make that problem worse. Now, when I first started tracking the cosmic rays, I kind of like, oh, is this real? Is it really affecting me? Because I'm a healthy 65-year-old, very active woman, and I thought, I'm not really sure about this. And so there was a cosmic ray time where it was a KP0 time. And all of a sudden I had fatigue. Like I could not, I had no energy. So what did I do? I ate all day, like anything, carbs, chocolate, protein. And no matter what I ate, I was still tired.
Mm.
And the next day, I found out that I got an infection. So, because I'm prone to infection. And then, since then, I've tracked insomnia. I'm like one of these type A personalities. So I'm like Miss Energizer Bunny. And so I kind of always have that. But during low cosmic ray time, it's, um, it's aggravated. So
Do you mean during high cosmic ray time?
no, well, when it's a KP0 day,
Okay.
KP0. What?
Okay.
Okay. High cosmic rays, but KP0 day. I call it a flatline day.
Okay.
So that means it's like 0, 1, 2, and it stays that way for 12 or 24 hours. If it's just there for a few hours, it's no big deal. But if it stays there for a sustained period, like 12 to 24 hours, that's when we're going to start noticing. Now, you might think, well, I'm very young, I'm healthy, and I don't have any problems. Well, these KP0 days, that's just what I'm going to call it, and that equates to high cosmic rays. Then young people, like 20 years old, you can be a marathon runner, you can be a firefighter, you can be a UPS delivery person. They can drop dead in a second from a heart attack or a stroke, because that's how powerful these cosmic rays are.
Wow.
You can be in the best of health, tippy tippy top health, and it can knock you deader than a hammer. It can also cause anxiety. It can incite violence. I had one friend and he works in a hospital, and I alerted him that it was going to be a KP day because he had some vulnerabilities. And he goes, "You wouldn't have believed the hospital. There were shootings all over the city. The law enforcement brought the people that had been shot to the hospital, and the law enforcement officers actually came to fisticuffs in the emergency room, and it was all this violence caused by the KP0 day. So for me, it manifested in me eating all day. But for other people that have maybe a violent tendency, and maybe you don't even realize that you have it could also cause depression. Like you just say, I'm just, you know, so depressed, and there's no reason for it. It's not like your kids called and gave you some bad news, or the economy. Of course, everybody's worried about the coronavirus right now, but if it's if you get depression that is unaccounted for, I would check and see your space weather.
Okay, helpful tips. And a lot of these things that you're talking about are in your book. Yeah.
Hmm.
Okay. Um, all right. So I'm gonna give the audience a free nugget from your book. It's the down and dirty bomb protection from God. Okay. So in your book it says that NASA's recommendation to its inner circle is vitamin C, N-acetylcysteine, L-selenomethane, which is selenium,
Yes, selenium.
okay,
Yes.
glutathione, which in my world means use your citrus essential oils because that helps boost your body's natural production of glutathione, which is your anti-aging antioxidant, and lipolic acid, vitamin C, or sorry, vitamin E, E like Edward, dried prunes or powdered prunes. So, not fresh prunes. Not that we're saying don't eat fresh prunes. We're just saying for the down and dirty bomb protection from God, we're looking at dried prunes or powdered prunes. And then also in your book, on page 39, it talks about gastrointestinal tract and how there's over 1012 bacteria and in your GI, and that they have very important functions, and that they modulate everything from your mood or to whether you succumb to a viral threat. That really stood out to me. So, besides foods like sauerkraut and your down and dirty bomb protocol from God, would like a good probiotic supplement be helpful to maintain a good microbiome in your protection, in your opinion? Because I like the doTERRA PB Assist specifically. What do you think?
Absolutely. Everybody should be on some type of a probiotic, and you want to change and swap around so that you get this is a case where diversity is a good thing. And so you want lots of different strains because the good, friendly bacteria are going to keep out the pathogens. And that's what you want. And like you said, your microbiome affects every single cell, every hormone. It affects your brain, how you think, your organs. There is nothing that is not directly impacted or swayed by your microbiome.
So, something that I learned about, gut health and microbiome health, I found completely fascinating, and that is cooked, then cooled potatoes are a really great prebiotic. A prebiotic is what your bacteria is food for your bacteria. So your good um, bacteria can benefit from eating basically potato salad because they're potatoes are cooked and then cooled. And I just found that really fascinating.
Especially if you keep the peels on. And I know that my husband was like one of these ones that had to have the peels off, and I was a
Mine
peels
too.
on. But the peels have certain microbes in them that help our gut. Just like if we go out and pick a fresh cabbage and we bring it in, that cabbage that we grow in our garden has a lot of friendly bacteria in there that when we try to go to ferment it, turns out good. Another, if you want to supercharge it, your bacteria or your ferment, whatever you're going to do, is trace minerals, and that will supercharge any probiotic that you are taking. And you can actually maximize a ferment that you are doing. Like, let's say you're fermenting some carrots and you're going to let them sit out on your counter for 5 days. You can actually put in the probiotic that you're taking and some trace minerals, and that will supersize or supercharge your ferment. And so that's going to be necessary because, quite frankly, if our supply chain ever went down, you might not be able to get your probiotic. But this is a way, it's an old fashioned way that it's kind of along the same line as a sourdough starter or Amish friendship bread, that you can keep your probiotic going even without refrigeration or if you can't get any.
Wow. I mean, that actually sounds like a topic video all by itself. How fun would that be? Okay, well, it is definitely more fun talking about solutions to these threats. So let's talk about those some more. So when I think of radiation, I think of iodine. Is an iodine supplement something we would might think about getting?
So iodine would help you for a nuclear radiation, but not necessarily for um, cosmic rays. It just depends what cosmic ray you're getting hit by, and they don't have little labels on them, as they come hit you, or fly through, do drive-bys. Um, and they also would not help with 5G. Now, of course, if you had seaweed so seaweed is radio protective. So it is going to, has iodine in it, but it also has other constituents and ingredients in the seaweed, as long as you don't get it from the Pacific Ocean where it's got Fukushima radiation.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so then you're covered for all three.
Okay, okay. Now I have heard you talk about eating the rainbow on your
Mhm.
Patreon page, and I've recently been dehydrating some fresh pineapple in order to preserve it for longer term. How might yellow foods help protect me? And tell us anything you want about eating the rainbow. And I think that's probably most of what your book is about. Is that right?
Um, it it goes into the different foods. I don't have my eating the rainbow chart. I There is a chart, and
Okay.
I you should put that link
Okay.
in, and so that your listeners and followers can print that out. I actually have mine taped in my kitchen cupboard right above my coffee pot. So anytime that I want to reference, and it will tell you like what organs this color is going to impact, and it just lots of really interesting things about each different color. And you really do want to eat the rainbow. And most Americans eat white, brown, and yellow. So you really have to break out. And I just noticed, I was out in the garden yesterday, last evening, and I noticed my pansies, they're starting to come to life. They're not flowering yet. And pansies, Johnny jump ups, your flowers are a good way to add to salads, or I even put them in. if I am baking anything, you can put the any color in your batter, and it will even pancakes and make it kind of pretty, and you get those incredible phytonutrients.
Okay, yeah, that made me think of the borage that comes up and the little blue star flowers. And I like to put them in my salad, especially during 4th of July time, because it kind of makes it, with your tomatoes and your borage flowers, kind of gives a little patriotic flair. And I think they taste like cucumbers. And I like cucumbers in my salad. So if I don't have cucumbers right there, then I can eat the blue flowers and be eating the rainbow and its protection that it gives me, which I won't know until I find the rainbow chart, because we will definitely link that in the description and in the comments below.
And if you have children and maybe they might be opposed to eating flowers, or a husband that might be opposed to eating flowers, you can collect those borage flowers. And what you do is you collect enough, like a good supply, and you put boiling hot water on it, put a plate over it, let it sit. I love to do it in a clear glass bowl because you see this absolutely sapphire blue. It turns. Well, by the next day, you let it sit for 24 hours and it turns an amber. And you collect till you have about a half gallon or a gallon. And then you add your favorite sweetener. It can be an organic sugar, it can be date sugar, it could be honey. And then you boil it down a half, and it tastes just like maple syrup. And you get all the phytonutrients of that beautiful sapphire blue, but in in a kind of fun form. So it's just like maple syrup. As a matter of fact, I've just got tons of it canned up. And it keeps as long as you can it. It keeps indefinitely.
And your water bath canning that?
Yes, yes, water bath canning.
Wow, that sounds like a fun project.
It is.
Um, yeah. So let's see, what else can we talk about in your book to give folks an idea of what sort of solutions they might be able to learn about in your book? Like there's cocoa powder, and I'm seeing cardamom, black plums. What else do you think they
So
might find out about?
I laid out the book so that the supplements are separate than the foods. And
Okay.
I did it very user friendly in alphabetical order. So let's say you have an apple and you want to find out, is this radioprotective? So you would go to the food section and you'd look under apple, and it would tell you as much information as I could find. It might tell you what types of
Hmm.
radiation it was effective against, the dosage, like how much would you take of how many apples do you have to eat a whole tree to be protected, or is one apple good enough? And do you take it before? Is it a preventative, or can you take it during the event? Or can you take it after you've been exposed? Let's say you were on vacation, you didn't know the space weather was a KP0 and it was really bad cosmic gray day.
Hmm.
Could you take it afterwards? And so if I could get that information, and most of it came from NASA and their study with the astronauts as they, aim for the stars and the planets and prepare their astronauts to live in very hostile planets and places.
Okay, yeah, because I am seeing on page 100, um, in the section that you described about foods, spices, and herbs, radioprotective food, spices, and herbs, star anise. And I had just recently got some star anise from my local herb shop. Um, and it talks about its protection and what it is and kind of how it's used, and it says it showed radioprotective effects in irradiated minced chicken meat by reducing lipid peroxidation. So it's an antioxidant.
Right.
Yeah, so those are great tips. So before we wrap up, is there anything else you wanted um, to share, or any free nuggets of wisdom, either out of the book or just off the top of your mind that's on your heart?
So this book also is has an index. It is now indexed. You can't index a Kindle version. They don't allow that, at least in the platform that I was using. But if you do get the paperback or the PDF, it is indexed. So you can, if you're interested in a particular herb, spice, food, or supplement, you can easily find it. And then the first part of the book goes into what are cosmic rays and um, just a little bit about them. And then the second part is what exactly can cosmic rays do to our body. Of course, we talked about that briefly, but I go into much more detail in the book, although I only spent maybe a third of the book on those two topics because I wanted it to be really heavily with the solutions.
I
So,
noticed that, but it did help me understand the urgency of why you wrote the book, and got it out there as fast as possible, because as I was reading it, um, I was like, okay, yes, this is important. And, it's not just a dictionary you sit on the bookcase if you need it. You need it now. You need to look at it before you think you have a problem, because things are happening up there in space, whether we like it or not. Um, and you talk about sleep in the book, the renal and kidney system, cardiovascular system. And I just really like, the simplicity of the down and dirty bomb protection. So I really like having that list. Yeah.
yes, I added a few supplements. And like with your vitamin E, there are ones that just have um, one constituent of vitamin E, but it is better to have one that has a variety of the different types of vitamin E. And I go into that in a little bit of detail in the book so that you understand, or if you wanted to show your doctor why it's beneficial to have an all encompassing vitamin E versus a very straight and narrow vitamin E.
Hmm. Okay, well, I really appreciate all of your wisdom and you sharing a little bit about a little bit about what's in the book. Because some thoughts that came to my mind as I was looking at it is, I already have some things that I have in my home that can be helpful. Like I mentioned, the star anise, and growing your own sprouts. And I'm going to have to find out what this pineapple is going to do for me as well. But um, the audience knows that I promote the doTERRA products and the Terra greens. I'm going to link that um, below so that people can find out what more information about that. But it has a lot of greens and grass and fruit and essential oils in there. And to me, that just says, protective help as well as the probiotics that are for adults and children, and also the vitamin supplements, and then the DDR Prime essential oil is to support our DNA and our cellular health. And the essential oil complex comes in just a liquid, so you can apply it topically, like on the bottoms of your feet, as well as in a convenient soft gel if someone is wanting to take that as an internal supplement. So I will link those below for people to check out. And let's remind everybody how we can find you online and get your book. So you have your blog, shepherdsheart.life, with
Yes.
great articles and how to purchase your book. And then you are on Patreon, and you have two Patreon accounts. One is the one you actually use, and one is the one where it was more of just a test account. And the one you actually use, that's going to say that you talk about health and current events and maybe some, you know, politics. I don't know if you have the word in there, politics, but it describes that you talk about health and current events and current news.
And spiritual uplifting.
Okay, yes, good reminder. And then on YouTube, your YouTube videos that get posted on there are through the Diamond Disc channel. So we'll link all of that. And I just thank you so much for joining us today because I know you are really, really busy.
I have one thing that the
Yes.
listeners should know. So I tried to be very comprehensive with this book and try and give people with many different diets and lifestyles. You know, I put a little bit for everybody around the world because my audience is global. But let's say you just love a particular food and it's not in the book, and you want to know if it's radioprotective, if it's going to protect you against cosmic rays. And so, what you would do is go to your favorite search engine, whatever that is, and you would type in your favorite food and then the word radioprotective, and you can find out yourself. And you know, some, it depends on what the website, what comes up, well, how much information you'll get. But in most cases, it will say, yes, it's radioprotective, or no, it's not radioprotective. If you're eating real ingredients like real food, chances are you're already getting some layers of protection. The people that are going to die first are people that consume um, fast food, overly processed foods, and foods that are not really food at all. So,
Okay.
so those are some parting words of wisdom to just help us eat right and keep focused.
And empower us to do our own research as well.
Yes.
All right, well, that sounds good. I just want everybody to remember that essential oils and, food from the earth and water and sleep, they are not weird if they work. Stopping recording.